Lecture 1, Week 1, Anthropology 101. Please familiarize yourself with the focus questions. Keep these in mind as you go through this PowerPoint presentation. During the course of this term, we will be looking at the main question, what does it mean to be human? How did we become human? In thinking about that, take a look at these. Why would footprints have anything particular to tell us about what it is to be human? Hominins. Hominins are members of the evolutionary lineage that includes ourselves, modern Homo sapiens. Hominins habitually walked bipedally on 2 feet. This is a critical feature of the hominins. I said walked. We still walk on 2 feet. We're the only hominins alive today. Were there other hominins in the past? Hominins, including humans, are members of the order Primates, or order Primates, the group of mammals that includes apes, monkeys, tarsiers, lemurs, and lorises. These other primates, then, are our closest living relatives. These are important terms, evolution and adaptation. Please take a moment to look at these definitions. We will be defining evolution in a number of ways. Our first definition is a change in the genetic structure of a population from one generation to the next. When we talk about evolution, we can talk about microevolution and macroevolution. Microevolution are the small genetic changes that occur within a species from one generation to the next. Macroevolution is the cumulative result of many generations of small genetic changes, which over time can lead to the appearance of a new species. Behavior. This is anything organisms do that involve action in response to internal or external stimuli. The response of an individual, group, or a species to its environment can be termed behavior. These responses may or may not be deliberate. They aren't necessarily the result of conscious decision making. Another term that we'll be using is culture. Culture consists of strategies humans have used to adapt to their environment. Some of these strategies include technologies, especially those technologies that allow us to extract food from our environment, subsistence patterns, housing types, clothing, religion, marriage and family, values, gender roles. These are all things that may or may not seem important to you, but they actually are ways that human beings organize societies in order to survive in diverse environments. Culture is learned, it's not inborn, but the process of learning one's culture begins practically from birth. The human predisposition to assimilate culture and function within it is profoundly influenced by biological factors. So that while the content of our culture is not inborn or genetic, the predisposition to learn culture and live within it does seem to be genetically based, the result of our biological evolutionary heritage. Over time, culture and biology interacted in such a way that humans are said to be the result of biocultural evolution. Biology makes culture possible. Developing culture further influences the direction of biological evolution. We can see cultural change over time by looking at the photographs on this slide, from a horse-drawn buggy to a modern automobile, from Stone Age blades to modern stainless steel blades, from an ancient fluted musical instrument to a clarinet. This course is an introduction to one of the four major fields of anthropology, so perhaps we should start talking about what anthropology itself is. It's a powerful means of explaining variation in human adaptations. There are four major subfields: cultural anthropology, archaeology, linguistic anthropology, and physical or biological anthropology. This is a course in physical or biological anthropology. Cultural anthropology is the study of the global patterns of belief and behavior found in contemporary and historical cultures. Cultural anthropology began with an interest in traditional societies, which led early anthropologists to study and record lifeways that are now all but extinct. Detailed descriptive studies of human societies form the basis of comparative studies of numerous cultures. Ethnographic techniques are applied to the study of diverse subcultures and their interactions with one another in contemporary areas, such as in urban anthropology. An ethnography is a written account of a culture. Ethnographic technique is the means by which we study cultures. Archaeology is the study of earlier cultures and past behaviors. It's the study of the lifeways of people and societies that lived long ago. This study approaches the human past through the scientific recovery, analysis, and interpretation of material remains of past societies. These material remains, things that have been manufactured and altered by human activity, are called artifacts. Linguistic anthropology is the study of human speech and language. The use of language is a unique human characteristic. Linguists compare languages to one another in order to trace back their historical origins, as well as to find what's alike and different in all languages, how languages work, the relationships between language and culture. Insights into the process of language acquisition in infants have implications for the development of language skills in human evolution. And finally, physical anthropology, the study of human biology within the framework of evolution. There are subfields within physical anthropology, such as paleoanthropology, which is the study of human evolution as evidenced in the fossil record. Paleoanthropology takes an interdisciplinary approach in which physical structure, time frame or chronology, archaeological remains, biological studies of fossils and anatomy, reconstruction of ancient environments, trying to understand the habitats of our early ancestors, all of these things come together for us to create as full a picture as possible of the conditions our ancestors lived under and the directions their evolution took and why. Some physical anthropologists study contemporary human variation. Population studies examine how groups respond physiologically to environmentally induced stress. The woman in the photograph is a researcher using a treadmill test to assess a subject's heart rate, blood pressure, and oxygen consumption. Anthropometry is the measurement of the human body, identifying human variation due to possible adaptive significance. Why are we alike and different? What shaped the human body's shapes that we find throughout the world today? In this photo, we can see Dr. Kathleen Galvin measuring upper arm circumference in a young Maasai boy in Tanzania. Data derived from various body measurements, including height and weight, were used in a health and nutrition study of groups of Maasai cattle herders. Some physical anthropologists specialize in genetics, the study of gene structure and action, and the pattern of inheritance of traits from parent to offspring. Genetic mechanisms are the foundation for evolutionary change. Molecular anthropology. This is the study of DNA molecules, blood proteins, and other biochemical and molecular aspects of human biology. Cloning and sequencing methods are frequently used to identify genes in humans as well as our non-human primate relatives. DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. It's a double-stranded molecule that contains the genetic code, a set of instructions for producing bodily structures and functions. DNA is a main component of chromosomes. Another area within physical anthropology is the study of human skeleton structure. This is osteology, the study of bones. Bioarchaeology, is also a part of the study of skeletal remains from archaeological sites. Paleopathology is the study of disease and trauma in archaeologically derived skeletons. This field investigates the prevalence of trauma, certain infectious diseases, nutritional deficiencies, and the conditions that may leave evidence in bone. Various disease processes can be identified and help us understand the kinds of stress that our ancestors lived under and that may have affected the course of our evolution. Forensic anthropology is an applied area of biological anthropology in which anthropological techniques are applied to legal issues, often in terms of identifying partial human remains, bones, skeletal material, and so on. You may be familiar with forensic anthropology from a number of television shows, Bones, CSI, and so on. Not all forensic anthropologists are young and glamorous women, but they seem to be on television. Primatology is the study of the living non-human primates. These would include lorises and lemurs, monkeys, apes, all of our non-human primate relatives. Here we can see primatologist Jill Proutz following a chimpanzee in Senegal in West Africa. What's the common thread through all of these subfields of physical anthropology? Take a moment to think about that. And what are some practical uses of this field besides forensic anthropology? In addition to forensic anthropology, there are other areas of applied anthropology. So, applied anthropology is the practical application of anthropological and archaeological theories and techniques. We use anthropology to examine, explore, understand, and even sometimes solve real-life problems. Medical anthropology is an applied subfield of cultural anthropology that explores the relationships between various cultural attributes and health and disease. Medical anthropologists may help design healthcare delivery programs for underserved communities, or they may seek to understand how different people perceive and respond to illness. Physical anthropology is a biological science. Science consists of a body of knowledge gained through observation and experimentation. The name science comes from the Latin scientia, which means knowledge. The scientific method involves a process of explaining natural phenomena by means of observation and developing explanations or hypotheses. It's an empirical approach to the world in which we actively gain information through direct observation or experience. This information is called data. It's collected in a way that allows us to study and analyze it quantitatively. That is, we can count or enumerate our data. The process is to first state a research problem. We have observed some phenomenon in nature and we wish to understand and explain it. So we continue to observe and develop a hypothesis. This is a tentative explanation. We think we can see what's going on, but we're not sure. So we have an idea of what might be happening. We develop a hypothesis. A hypothesis that's useful is one that can be tested. If it can't be tested, it really doesn't help us explain anything. So we can then move on to the next stage, which is testing the hypothesis through collecting more data and further analysis. This can be done through either more observation in a systematic way or through experimentation, depending on the nature of the phenomenon that we're observing. When we test a hypothesis, we seek to find information not simply that supports it, but we look for those things out there that would contradict it. What would we see happening if our hypothesis is wrong? We try to falsify it. If you can't falsify it, if all the evidence supports it, that makes it a very strong hypothesis. If the hypothesis is verified by repeated studies, it may support a theory. It may become a theory. From this perspective, the scientific use of the term theory refers to a very strong explanation, not some general amorphous idea, oh, it's only a theory. You wouldn't say that about a scientific theory. Scientific theories are about as solid as we get in science. Empirical. This is, as I said, relying on experiment or observation, from the Latin empiricus, meaning experienced. So again, a hypothesis is a provisional explanation of a phenomenon. It must be verified or falsified through testing to be of value. A theory, then, is a broad statement of scientific relationships or underlying principles that has been substantially verified through the testing of hypotheses. Tested explanations of facts are theories. The facts are what we actually observe in nature. The theory is our understanding and explanation of what we observe. Scientific testing. The precise repetition of an experiment or expansion of observed data to provide verification. The procedure by which hypotheses and theories are verified, modified, or discarded. We can test by making more observations and predicting what we should and shouldn't observe, or we can conduct experiments. That depends on what we're trying to understand. If we're studying the solar system, we can't build a solar system in a laboratory. We have to rely on observation. So not all science follows from experimentation, but much of science does. The anthropological perspective is a broad perspective that helps us understand the diversity of the human experience within the context of biological and behavioral continuity with other species. It helps us to see our place in the natural world. By learning about cultures other than our own, we can avoid an ethnocentric view of other cultures. By recognizing that we have similarities with other animals, we may recognize that they have a place in nature just as we do. Ethnocentrism is the viewing of other cultures from the inherently biased perspective of one's own culture. While this may appear to be mainly a moral or ethical concern, it's also a scientific and scholarly concern. Ethnocentrism blocks understanding of other cultures and other ways of life. This barrier to understanding prevents true scholarly and scientific work from proceeding. One scholarly answer to ethnocentrism is to take a culturally relativistic view in which you withhold judgment based on the values and beliefs you have as a member of your own culture. Cultural relativism is the view that cultures have merits within their own historical and environmental contexts and should first be understood within those contexts. It is not a complete moral and ethical relativity. It is simply withholding judgment in order to allow analysis and understanding. The anthropological perspective matters. Anthropology offers a wide appreciation of the human experience in order to understand human beings and how our species came to be. It is only through a real, complete understanding of what it is to be human can we prepare ourselves to face the challenges and problems that the future will hold for our species and for the Earth in general.